My first guest tonight is, of course, the anchor of the NBC Nightly News and a best-selling author. His latest book is a memoir of his early years. It's entitled A Long Way From Home. Please welcome Tom Brokaw. Thank you. Finally.
Thank you.
Some class, some prestige is now on the show.
Oh, does that mean Peter Jennings is showing up here?
Oh, you. We have this fly-by-night operation.
Hunter Thompson just last night. I mean, what more can you ask?
That was an interesting interview, yeah. First of all, before we get going, happy birthday. Your birthday was yesterday, is that right?
It was, yes.
Happy birthday. What did you do for fun on your birthday? What did you do last night?
Lakers and Knicks.
You played with them?
Yes, I did, as a matter of fact.
I hear you were incredible.
I might as well have been in the first half playing with the Knicks. They were down by more than 30 points against the Lakers. Kobe had an amazing night at the Garden. Right. And then the Knicks came all the way back from 30 down to within 4, but the Lakers managed to put them away. It was wonderful to have that kind of close-up look at Shaquille O'Neal's feet, which, if the president runs out of aircraft carriers, he can just take those shoes and send them off to the Persian Gulf.
So the whole game, you're just looking at his feet.
Well, a lot of people are astonished. I once actually did an interview with Shaq, and at the end of it, the photographer said, "Could we do something a little unusual here?" And before I could answer, Shaquille O'Neal reached down and picked me up and held me as if I were a baby, just like this. And you
were wearing diapers, which made it worse.
I was more than 100 pounds at the time. Yeah.
So you were just a tiny Tom Brokaw sitting there.
Right.
And that's such a weird image.
And I own all the negatives. If you're wondering about where those pictures are.
I'm going to get that photo. I promise it, folks. I promise it. Did you get any nice gifts from the family?
Well, one of my daughters said at dinner later, she said, "Well, Dad, I'm running a little low on money." I said, "When was the last time you were running high on money in the family?" Is what I'd like to know. So she had a poem for me. Another one of my daughters. She gave you a poem? She gave me a poem.
So in your family, if someone's running low on cash, they say, roses are red, violets are blue, I love you.
Right, that's it. Very original. And another one of my daughters sent a wonderful, actually animated internet card that featured her dog, and the other one arranged for me to be seen on the jumbo screen last night at Madison Square Garden. She had a friend at the NBA. So that's it, folks.
But they didn't flash your age, just you.
No. They didn't have not enough room for both my face and my age. It was one or the other.
Let's talk about the state of television, because as you can see tonight, it's in a sorry state.
Let's start at the bottom.
Yeah. Reality shows are completely changing the whole fabric of television. And last night is a good example. The Michael Jackson interview was presented kind of almost like news. You know, this is some news, and you start to wonder, do you think reality TV will start to affect the nightly news at some point? It's so powerful, and it's so changing television. Are you going to be airing reports in a bunk bed with Macaulay Culkin?
No, I don't think there's any chance I'm going to be seen at the American Idol. I think I think the chances of that are slim indeed. And my guess is that this too will run its course, as Who Wants to Be a Millionaire ran its course fairly quickly, and we'll go through all this. I watched a few minutes the other night of Joe Millionaire, and I dare say I have never seen anything that is quite as contrived. If those women believe that he's a millionaire and that he's worth marrying, I have some swamp water I'd like to sell them as prime real estate.
So you're not sold on Joe Millionaire. You don't find him a charming, dashing young man.
I must say somebody's desperate to be on television, and you do wonder about how much manipulation is there behind.
Can I just point out that both of us are on television right now?
No, I know we are.
I was pretty desperate to get on.
And this is what passes for reality at NBC, and it's a sad commentary on where we are in our lives.
Thank you. I'm going to tell you, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Let's talk about the state of the world, because I have you here.
That's reality TV, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get to speak to that many people who probably have an inside track on what's going on. Today, we were elevated from a yellow to an orange alert. Does that really mean anything? Is it based on some information, in your opinion?
You know, I suppose cynics could say, look, they're trying to cover the backside of their political careers by saying, look, we're picking up a lot of additional chatter.
Right.
In some communities, they are putting additional security at airports and in bridges and public transportation and that kind of thing. But in a country as large and as complex as this one is, there's not a lot that we can do. And these are ill-defined threats against the United States. They're worried about the beginning of a Muslim week called Hajj, which is the beginning of the pilgrimage to Mecca. Also, you know, there's no secret, we're ratcheting up toward war with Iraq. So they're picking enough intercepts up that they thought that they ought to let the country know that. And under the system of yellow and orange and so on, they decided they would move it up for only the second time. What does that mean to all of us? It's hard to say. You know, you probably... They're saying don't try to avoid large gatherings of Americans because they may want to pick out a place where there's going to be a lot of people gathering in the same place. On the other hand, they may be trying to discourage anti-war protest. That's a joke, obviously. But I don't know. It's very hard. I think policemen and firemen and fire departments across the country are befuddled. They don't know what to do. They don't have
you feel like when I see that we've elevated to a new, I think I have to put on my orange hat or, you know, mobilize in some way. And I haven't. What? Oh, I
You already have your orange hat on.
Yes,
yes,
nice.
Right.
Very nicely done. In the event of a war, and it certainly is starting to feel after Colin Powell's presentation and after what President Bush said yesterday, it's starting to feel like a foregone conclusion that we're going to war. In the event that that happens, where do you go? Do you stay here in New York? Would you go closer to the front?
At the beginning, I would be here because it's going to be a complicated situation. And then at some point, I would probably go over there.
Do you like being that close to the action? Is there a kind of thrill to it, if I can say
Thrill
that?
is not the right word. It does get your attention. There is an adrenaline pump. There are those people who, they say that they have the smell of cordite, which is the smell that you have from a fired gun, in their nostrils. They're the old combat correspondents, but nobody likes to be in that kind of a danger. Right. When, you know, I was in Lebanon when that was going on, and that was a very dangerous time. And during Operation Desert Storm, during the Iran-Contra war, there were exchanges that were happening. And, you know, you never know when the stray bullet is going to find you, so you don't like to be in.
And I'm different. I would be filing my reports from the Miami Hilton. You know, I'd be in there, like wearing a Hawaiian shirt. And,
well, I've said that. You know, they said, when are you going to go to Baghdad? And I said, right after the 101st Airborne gets there.
Right.
You know, that's kind of what
I would say a week after they get there. Yeah. Let them be there for a little bit. Well, take care of yourself in the event that you end up going over there. Don't do anything crazy.
I'm going to be fine. I worry about our, you know, not only our correspondents, but we have camera crews and producers and other technicians who work for us, and they are the real brave people who work for NBC News, and they'll be doing the heavy lifting. I'll probably be back here if there is a war at the studio trying to coordinate all the things that are going on because it's going to be complicated. And, you know, without getting too much of a sermonette here, this is a time for the country to be paying attention. Right. These are serious times, and we have a lot at stake, and we have a lot of young people who are representing all of us tonight, and they're in uniform, they're in harm's way, they're on the ground in Kuwait. Some of them are inside Iraq even now, Special Operations Forces. They're in tactical fighter jets and on ships, and they're at the Pentagon, and they're working 24/7 at a time when we're just mostly worrying about whether it's orange or yellow. So this is a serious time for the country, and I think it behooves all of us as citizens to just be paying more attention.
All right. Well, the NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw airs weeknights at 6:30, and A Long Way From Home is in bookstores now. I hope you see. We hope we'll see you soon.
Well, I hope we'll have peace. I think that's what everyone hopes.
Everybody wants that. Right. Tom Brokaw, Rachel Dratch coming up.